Hello, everyone. My name is always Asmal. Welcome to another episode of Tooways to Skin a Cat, a show where we talk career experiences, entrepreneurship, and investments. The main aim is to show that there's more than one way to be successful other than just climbing the corporate ladder. Now we are live on LinkedIn and YouTube, and the show will be available on podcast by tomorrow. For those listening on Apple Podcast or on Spotify, please leave a rating for the podcast. Now, if you're joining us live, drop a one in the comments so that I know I'm not talking to myself, and drop a two in the comments if you're watching the recording. My guest for this week is Fungai Blake, a chartered accountant who's running two businesses, a virtual assistant agency and a company that helps businesses with government grants and incentives. Fungai, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited and nervous, but thank you.
Let's have some fun. But anyways, let's jump straight in. Tell us your story. Where do you come from? And even outside of work, who is Fungai Blake? Give us the backstory.
Okay, so Fungai Blake. So I am 42 years old. I am originally from Zimbabwe, but I've been in South Africa for more than half my life. So I came to South Africa to study. I studied at UCT, studied accounting because I thought it would be fun. And then kind of just spent a number of years in corporate until I decided to jump ship and start my own business. I am married, a mom to two crazy, busy, cute, like aggravating boys sometimes, but yeah. I've got three sisters. My mom passed away. My dad is there. Very much a community person. So I love people. I love being a part of a community. I'm very into my church community. And outside of anything work related, I love to travel. So yeah, I feel like I work to travel. So I don't know. In a nutshell, that's kind of me.
That's a very small nutshell, but we'll open that nutshell a little bit. But
Cool.
the work to travel, I can get on board with, so that's a good
Yeah.
start. But
Yeah.
but not like tell me seriously though, how
Yeah.
do you manage running two businesses at the same time? It's not even the same type of businesses.
I know. I know. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's very hectic. It's been intense. I think running a business, I mean, I know they say entrepreneurship is hard, but it is. It's like having two newborn babies. And for those that are parents, like you love your children, but that newborn stage, as much as it's very exciting, it is intense and it's a lot of work. So I felt, many different things these past 8 months. It's only been 8 months. But it's just been characterized by lots of hard work. Um, I don't know, maybe we'll get into it in terms of why two businesses. But yeah, it's been hectic, but fun. And I still wouldn't go back to a corporate job. So yeah,
So
which I think is good.
let's get into why two businesses then, because while we
Okay, so why two businesses? Okay, so I mean, obviously, so I've spent the last since 2011, so the last 14 years in the government grants and tax incentive space, right? So initially, when I made the decision that I'm going to jump into entrepreneurship, I really didn't think I would stay in the same industry. I thought, I'm going to go ahead and I wanted to help SMEs, right? Provide sort of management consulting services to SMEs. So it wasn't even the plan to start a virtual assistant agency. But anyway, so while I was preparing to leave corporate, I had a meeting with my now partner in the grants business. And I'd worked with him before. And he was like, why would you leave? At the time, it was like 13 years of experience. Like, why would you leave that? Like, you've got knowledge, you've got skills. I ran the grants team at EY. And he's like, why? Like, use it for yourself, And I was like, oh, you make a good point. And he was kind of like, let's work together and whatever. So that's how I sort of stayed in the grant space. And I mean, it's been going well. It pays bills. So I'm grateful. And it's something that was easy for me to just continue to do. But I think the virtual, I still, even when we had that discussion, I was like, okay, I'll do this, but I don't want to let go of like my dream in terms of like something completely different, I didn't kind of want to just replicate what I had at my previous employer doing the same thing. I needed something, just something new. Had a conversation with someone in the SME space. Like I won't mention the name, but they work for one of the largest like ESD providers. So they work with SMEs. And this person was like to me, you know what, there's a need for virtual assistant agencies. It's not something that's very people know about it, but in South Africa, I don't think it's that well used. But he's like, there's a need for it. And it really resonated. I think it resonated, especially in terms of being able to create opportunities for people who might not find it easy to get a job. You know what I mean? Obviously, the more highly skilled you are, the easier it is for you to get employment. But you know, some of the services that we provide, like if you're just switched on, you might not have a university degree, but if you're a switched on person, you can actually provide a great service to someone. And I think it just felt like I can create, you know, hopefully if everything works out, create opportunities and jobs for people. So it felt like there's more purpose to the VA agency. And so, you know, people have said to me, well, I mean, if the grants business makes money, like, why don't you just ditch the VA agency? But it's not just about making money. Of course, I wanted to make money, but it's about creating opportunities. So I'm kind of like, I want them both. So, you know, I'm going to have to make it work. Yeah.
Have your cake and eat it too. Why not?
Yes,
Why not?
exactly.
I want to talk just about the government grants and incentives business quickly.
Okay.
Firstly, at least, not
Yeah.
quickly. But your business is the first that I've heard that focuses on that only. Like,
Okay.
are there lots of government grants and incentives out there for businesses, and we're just not aware of it, or what am I missing?
Okay, got you. I mean, look, it's a very niche space, right? So there aren't a lot of companies that do this, but I just so happened to, yeah, I got into it by chance 14 years ago, right? I was part of a big four firm, two different big four firms. If you go on my LinkedIn, you'll see which ones. Um, and you know, they had service lines that specifically focus on that, but there's also a number of like smaller, like not big four companies that are very focused on it. And I mean, there is enough money in the system to sustain these businesses, you know what I mean? So for me to go back to the big four firm that I ended up last working for when I left corporate, they actually purchased a smaller niche boutique firm that I worked for, you know, that focused on that. So they are, you know, so there are grants, there are tax incentives, and enough to sustain businesses, especially from the DTIC. So if you're a corporate and you're investing in manufacturing equipment, if you're investing in any infrastructure, if you're doing R&D, there is, you know, if you're an agro processor, etc., there's actually government support out there, you know, from the range of like 5 to 50 million rand per project. So it's not, I mean, 50 million rand is quite significant, I think, you know, even for big corporates, like an extra 50 million in cash, like who would say no to that? So yeah, we're not a huge industry, but there's enough to sustain a few companies. Yeah.
Those are big amounts. So I didn't
Yeah.
realize. I knew they'd be one and two, but thanks for sharing the industries. It's good to keep in mind going
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah.
If we were either one of those industries or even a normal business, are there any like incentives or grants that are like what you would call low hanging fruits that business should be going after that they're not going after?
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, South Africa has a lot of manufacturers, you know. And for me, if you're a manufacturer and you've got level 4 BE and you are investing in CapEx, if you don't apply for grants, and obviously they don't because they don't know about them, unfortunately, that is literally low hanging fruit that's right there. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, the requirements are not that onerous. Like, are you investing? If you're investing, you can apply, you know. Or even I think another one is like we do have a lot of companies that innovate, whether in the software space or products or whatever. If you are spending money on R&D innovation and you're not claiming an incentive, that is just like you're leaving money on the table. Do you know what I mean? The government wants to encourage innovation. Like, I don't know if we'll ever, okay, let me not say that, but they want to encourage innovation. And if you're not taking advantage of what's out there, you're just leaving money on the table. Yeah.
No, that definitely helps. So especially those companies who she mentioned, those types of companies, go out and have a look or reach out to her. For the
Yeah.
audience, we'll be responding to questions towards the end, so please add your questions to the comment section now so that we don't miss them. I noticed when I looked at your LinkedIn profile that you actually started out as a lecturer. Most
Oh,
people
yeah.
that start out as lecturers, they kind of most of them end up in academia or
Yeah.
academia related. Lecturer
Mm.
to entrepreneur is not that career growth strategy that you see often. Most stay.
Yeah.
So what made you different that you made that switch?
So, I mean, okay, my first stint in lecturing was academic articles. So I lectured at UCT. I lectured accounts one many years ago. Um, and so obviously I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, loved it. I love people, I love interacting with people. I'm a nerd, right? I love accounting. Yeah. So it really ticks a lot of boxes. But obviously that was just going to be like a 1 year thing because it was part of my articles journey. I still needed to do normal audit articles, which I then did. But then I came back to, I think after spending some time in corporate, I was like, yeah, no, I think let me go back to academia. But yeah, I realized like the company that I worked for at the time was a startup, so it was a lot of work. And I was just like, I kind of wanted a slow, chilled life, but this is just a lot. So if I want to work this hard, I might as well just be back in corporate. So yeah, but I mean, I think there's a lot of things actually about academia that I kind of am using now. The ability to talk to people, the ability to explain things to people. So there's skill sets that you use in that context that you can use, anywhere else. So it wasn't a waste, and it kind of makes sense to me anyway. Yeah.
And it's one thing that I like to ask small business owners is you're moving from a situation where you were in corporate, so and most big corporates, especially like some companies, every year there's some sort of restructuring, so the number of jobs kind of stays the same. Sometimes it shrinks. Okay,
Mm,
there's new article classes coming, but now you're an entrepreneur, and
mm,
you're almost creating. I mean, you are not almost. You are creating jobs for other people. Like,
yeah.
does that does that weigh on you in terms of I'm appointing a new person, I'm giving somebody who doesn't have a job, like that sort of responsibility. Talk to us about.
Yeah. So I mean, I remember I had lunch with my former boss earlier this year. So and I was just about to add two members to the team. They started in Feb, and he was kind of like, so so on the grant side, I kind of like sort of like I'm a partner in an existing business, so that's fine. So I didn't feel any sense of responsibility there because it's like the guys already were there. I'm joining the team, so that's fine. But I think on the VA side, now adding people to the team, and he was like, now you're in the big leagues. You know what I mean? There's a sense of responsibility. There really is because now you need to make it work, not just for yourself, but for the people who are now depending on this business as a source of income, as a job, right? So there is that like I'm responsible, which is different. I didn't have that feeling when I worked in corporate because someone else was responsible. You know what I mean? But there's also a sense of like a lot of satisfaction in just like the impact that this job will have on this person who was not employed before. So I'm kind of excited about payroll tomorrow. Just like what I mean, just knowing that it's going to make an impact, and I think that's what this VA business is about. So yeah, responsibility for sure, but also just satisfaction, if that makes sense.
And do you ever think back to when you were in working and you start to understand the decisions that your employer made back then a little bit better?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I wish, and I mean, I should, because I still have a good relationship with, the guy, like I worked with my former bosses since 2015. Since 2015, but full time more 2017. So I was with them for a long time. And we've got great relationships that have, lasted even beyond me working for them. But now I get them a lot more, right? I get them. Like I used to think, oh my goodness, my boss works so hard. I mean, I'm a hard worker. I've always been like, but he used to burn the midnight oil. I'm like, this guy's obsessed with work. But he was an entrepreneur. He grew a team of up to like 30 people. I mean, he had to, like, I get it now. Or even things like, obviously, if you've been in consulting or in audit, timesheets are like critical, and some of these big companies will you even have automatic warnings if you don't do your timesheet. And now being in a business where I sell time, like I understand why they do that. Like literally that is your inventory and how it's so important. So a lot of things start to make sense, that it would be like, oh, these people, but now I'm like, yo, hi, I understand, yeah, it's definitely different. Or even like the last company I worked for, just, a lot of focus on like, assisting with collecting cash, clients who haven't paid. And I get it, because now when cash flow matters to you, like you understand those invoices must be collected. When you're an employee who's going to get paid, especially if you work for a big company, you're going to get paid on the 25th or whatever the date is. It doesn't matter to you. But when it's your cash, yeah, no, you're okay. So yeah, for sure.
And when the money comes in at different times of the month, it's always quite interesting.
Yes, exactly.
We've covered both of your businesses. We've covered your career a little bit. Is there any last few words from you, or anything we didn't discuss that you'd like the audience to know?
Yeah. So I think the one thing that I would say, I feel like when I was in corporate, right? I mean, self-development was important. It was, but I think when you become an entrepreneur, like you have to evolve, you have to learn, you have to grow. Like there's no ways you can become an entrepreneur and stay the same. I mean, I don't think you can be a successful entrepreneur if you don't grow, right? And also if you're not very intentional about your time, about the decisions that you make and all of that. And I sometimes feel like I wish I'd been this person back when I was in corporate. Like maybe, I don't know, like I would have experienced a lot more if I'd taken myself as seriously as I take myself now. So I think I would say, I mean, look, I'm not saying to everyone jump ship and be an entrepreneur. I don't think it's for everyone, But I think even if your journey is going to be in corporate, if your journey is going to be an employee, like, I don't know, man, like grab that thing and just, go for it in terms of learning stuff, putting your hand up for stuff, like just being an entrepreneur within a corporate environment. I feel like we can all be, we don't all need to be outside of the safety net of corporate, but even if in corporate, like if you're just kind of coasting and whatever, I'm like, don't sell yourself short. Don't, be an entrepreneur and learn so many things inside your corporate environment. So that will be the one thing that I would say. Yeah.
Sounds like that's great advice. Sounds like you would do things a little bit differently. But I mean, we'd all say, I wish I had done that. My one would probably be, I wish I had networked a little bit more with my colleagues in art.
Right?
But we all have these regrets.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But I think it's a great way for the show to end. The show has been live on YouTube and should be available on podcast by tomorrow. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast and you feel that it's added value, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on that notification bell to get automatically notified when the next episode comes out. Fungai, thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us for another episode of Tooways to Skin